Back in 2021, car makers were investing billions of dollars in EVs and pledging that they would stop building gas-powered cars.
Imagine an engine so powerful, so affordable, it could turn the entire EV industry upside down. This isn't some futuristic concept. It's here, it's real, and it's coming from China. As Western automakers scramble to keep up, China's game-changing technology is already shaking up markets worldwide. Could a single new engine truly threaten the world's biggest car brands? And what does it mean for the future of electric vehicles? Join us as we uncover how this revolutionary engine could change everything we know about EVs. Let's begin. Section 1. China's journey to EV dominance. China isn't just competing in the EV market, it's aiming to dominate it, with a strategy so powerful it could change the industry forever. Through bold policies, relentless innovation, and game-changing tech, China's rise in green technology is sending shockwaves worldwide. Could a single new engine disrupt the entire EV industry? China's latest breakthroughs suggest it just might. But how did this journey start, and what's driving China's race to the top? This story began in the early 2000s, when China's cities were choked with pollution, and energy dependence was a growing concern. The country's rapid industrial growth came at a high environmental cost. China was importing vast amounts of oil, demand kept climbing, and the situation threatened public health and national security. To address these issues, China set its sights on electric vehicles as a solution. In 2001, the Chinese government launched the 863 program, designed to push innovation in high-tech industries, including clean energy and EVs. The goal was clear: reduce reliance on foreign oil and cut pollution. Even though the technology was expensive and public interest was low, China pressed forward. In the mid-2000s, it introduced the New Energy Vehicle (NEV) plan, focusing on battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrids, and hydrogen fuel cells. By 2010, the government had rolled out generous subsidies for both consumers and manufacturers to make EVs affordable and encourage adoption. Public transportation was one of the first sectors to undergo electrification. Shenzhen, a city of over 12 million people, set an ambitious goal: electrify its entire fleet of 16,000 buses. By 2017, it became the first city in the world to achieve this, cutting emissions and improving air quality. This wasn't just a one-time project, but a model for other cities in China and beyond. Now, will this massive public shift make China's new EV engine the next game changer? To achieve scale, the government backed EV adoption with strong policies and subsidies. These programs made EVs accessible to the average Chinese consumer and gave local manufacturers the boost they needed to expand. Among these policies was the dual credit system, launched in 2017, which required automakers to meet EV production quotas or buy credits from other companies that did. This system forced automakers to embrace EVs, moving the industry away from traditional gas-powered vehicles. In just over a decade, China transformed from a minor player to the world's largest EV producer and consumer. Chinese brands like BYD, NIO, and XPeng aren't only leading in their own market, they're also exporting to Europe, Latin America, and beyond. These companies are proving to be serious competitors for global giants like Tesla and Volkswagen. One of the keys to China's EV success is its extensive charging infrastructure. Charging stations have been set up across the country at a scale unmatched elsewhere, particularly in major cities where EV drivers can now find charging points almost as easily as gas stations. This network has eased range anxiety and made EVs a viable choice for more people. And with a powerful new engine entering the market, how could this infrastructure give China an even bigger edge in EV technology? China's strategic approach to EVs has had a global ripple effect. Nations, especially in Europe, are watching closely and adopting similar subsidy and policy models. At the heart of China's EV industry is its dominance in battery production, with companies like CATL and BYD not only meeting domestic needs, but also exporting worldwide. This control over the EV battery supply chain has given China a significant advantage. By 2023, nearly 40% of all vehicles sold in China were electric, a rate far ahead of other countries. Just a few years ago, seeing 4 out of 10 cars on the road as EVs would have seemed unlikely for any country. But through targeted policies and incentives, China has managed to achieve just that. The auto industry is in the middle of a transformation, and China is at its center, pushing the boundaries of what's possible with EVs. And as the rest of the world scrambles to catch up, one question remains: can anyone compete with China's electric dominance? Section 2. The BYD Seagull, a game changer for affordable EVs. Imagine an electric car engine so powerful and affordable that it could destroy the entire EV industry as we know it. This isn't a luxury vehicle or a concept car, it's the BYD Seagull, a compact EV from China with a groundbreaking engine and a shockingly low price that could change the global market overnight. This little car is doing what no other EV has done, bringing top-tier efficiency, high performance, and cutting-edge technology to the masses. What makes the Seagull such a threat to established brands? Let's break down the secrets behind its engine and design. The Seagull's game-changing power starts with its engine, or more specifically, its advanced electric motor paired with BYD's innovative lithium iron phosphate battery technology. Unlike traditional lithium-ion batteries that rely on costly materials like cobalt, BYD's LFP battery is made from readily available materials, which keeps costs down while enhancing durability. This battery technology is not only cheaper but also safer, as it's less prone to overheating or catching fire. For a car aimed at the everyday driver, this safety aspect is a big deal. And the performance? With this motor and battery combo, the Seagull can travel nearly 200 miles on a single charge, exceptional range for a car in its price range. But the Seagull's motor and battery are just the beginning of what makes this car such a powerhouse of affordability and performance. Every feature in the Seagull is designed to deliver maximum functionality at minimum cost, without feeling like corners were cut. Take the single windshield wiper, for example. It may sound trivial, but this choice isn't just about cutting down on parts. By reducing the number of moving components, BYD has saved on manufacturing costs, reduced weight, and minimized potential maintenance issues. This wiper still covers the entire windshield effectively, so drivers don't sacrifice visibility, but the cost and design are both optimized. Let's talk about size and design. The Seagull is a compact hatchback built for city life, offering easy maneuverability, quick parking, and a surprisingly roomy interior despite its small footprint. It's designed for urban environments where every inch counts, but the layout inside doesn't feel cramped. BYD has managed to create a spacious, efficient cabin with comfortable seating, simple controls, and enough storage for everyday use. The result is a practical, no-frills design that maximizes space and keeps distractions to a minimum, giving drivers exactly what they need and nothing they don't. Another impressive feature is the Seagull's fast charging capability. This car isn't just affordable and efficient, it's designed to keep up with the pace of modern life. Thanks to BYD's battery technology, the Seagull can reach a significant charge in a short amount of time, meaning less waiting around at charging stations. This feature alone makes the Seagull incredibly attractive to busy drivers who need a car that's ready to go without extended downtime. Now consider what the Seagull represents on the global market. Typically, EVs in Western markets are positioned as luxury or high-end models with a price tag to match. But here's the Seagull, challenging that status quo, with a price point that makes EVs accessible to a much broader audience. This car is already making waves in places like Europe and Latin America, where consumers want affordable, reliable EV options but have been limited by high prices from established brands. At a fraction of the price of a Tesla or BMW, the Seagull offers a practical, eco-friendly vehicle option that traditional automakers haven't been able to match. BYD has flipped the script on EV affordability, setting a new standard that will force Western automakers to rethink their pricing and production strategies. The Seagull's success is even more impressive when you consider BYD's recent financial performance. In the third quarter of 2024, BYD's revenue exceeded Tesla's, bringing in $28 billion compared to Tesla's $25 billion. This isn't just a sign of the Seagull's popularity, it's an indicator of BYD's massive global impact. While Tesla has focused on high-end models, BYD has positioned itself as the leader in affordable electric vehicles, reaching millions more consumers. BYD's strategy to prioritize cost-effective production and high-quality, affordable vehicles is a winning formula that's reshaping the competitive landscape. How does BYD manage to pull off this feat? Part of the answer lies in the company's unique approach to production. Unlike many automakers, BYD controls almost every part of the manufacturing process. From battery production to final assembly, BYD's vertical integration means it doesn't have to rely on third-party suppliers. This self-sufficiency enables BYD to keep costs low and quality high, an advantage that few automakers can match. It's also what allows BYD to price the Seagull so competitively, making it affordable for a global market hungry for budget-friendly EVs. In a world where electric vehicles are treated like luxury items, the Seagull is nothing short of a shock to the system. This car isn't just another model. It's a declaration from BYD that top-quality EVs can be affordable for everyone. The Seagull proves that you don't have to sacrifice performance, safety, or reliability to get an electric vehicle at an accessible price. It's a new gold standard, one that's forcing the entire industry into a race to keep up with BYD's rapid, unstoppable rise. Section 3. Technological Innovations and Autonomous Driving. China's electric vehicles are flipping the industry on its head, bringing features like self-driving, extended range, and luxury interiors to affordable cars. These aren't just budget EVs, they're high-tech, comfortable, and incredibly advanced, challenging the status quo in ways that seemed impossible a few years ago. NIO, for instance, has gone all in on autonomous driving technology, transforming their vehicles into what they call robots on wheels. With advanced systems allowing self-parking, highway navigation, and even voice command response, NIO envisions its cars as intelligent companions rather than just vehicles. Their goal is for these EVs to assist and adapt to drivers, making every journey smoother and safer. This shift from mere transportation to smart mobility is a step beyond what most brands offer today, and it's happening at a price that's well within reach for everyday consumers. The push for autonomous driving is widespread in China's EV market. Companies are rolling out driver assist features that handle daily driving tasks like maintaining speed, staying in lanes, and safely stopping in traffic. While they're not fully autonomous yet, these cars are inching closer to that reality with every update. BYD, another major player, has its own advanced driver assistance systems focused on enhancing safety and making driving smoother. Imagine a car that not only saves on fuel costs, but could potentially drive you to work, all while remaining accessible to average drivers. Beyond self-driving capabilities, Chinese automakers are tackling one of the biggest hurdles for EV adoption: range. XPeng's Kunpeng super electric system is designed specifically for hybrid models and offers a groundbreaking range of nearly 900 on a single charge. To put this in perspective, that's roughly the distance from Los Angeles to Seattle, all without needing a recharge. The system smartly switches between electric and fuel power, ensuring maximum efficiency, particularly in regions where charging infrastructure is still catching up. For drivers in remote or underserved areas, the Kunpeng system eliminates the constant worry of running out of power, making long-distance electric travel practical even outside major cities. This range-extending technology is especially crucial as Chinese automakers expand their reach internationally. Many regions lack extensive charging networks, and hybrid solutions like XPeng's allow EVs to function seamlessly, even where infrastructure is limited. By addressing these challenges head-on, XPeng is positioning Chinese EVs as a flexible, reliable option for a global audience. And the innovations don't stop there. Chinese brands are also leading in design and comfort. Gone are the days when affordable meant basic. Chinese EV makers have worked hard to ensure that their vehicles offer style, comfort, and quality materials, creating an experience that feels premium without the premium price. BYD and NIO, for example, have designed spacious interiors with luxurious seating, advanced climate control, and infotainment systems that rival the best in the industry. BYD's interiors are minimalist yet elegant, with high-quality finishes that make the ride feel more luxurious than the price would suggest. What's truly shocking is how quickly Chinese brands are catching up and even surpassing traditional Western EV leaders. For years, companies like Tesla and Volkswagen held the lead in innovation, but now Chinese brands are offering comparable or even superior features at a fraction of the price. NIO's autonomous driving capabilities are on par with Tesla's autopilot, and XPeng's extended range system rivals those of high-end Western models. But it's the affordability of these high-tech features that's really changing the game, as more consumers find they can get premium EV features without the luxury price tag. Section 4. The hidden environmental costs of EV battery production. While electric vehicles can reduce emissions and combat climate change, making the batteries that power these cars comes with a serious environmental toll. Producing EV batteries requires huge amounts of lithium, cobalt, and nickel, most of which must be mined, processed, and refined. This process is far from clean, and China's dominant role in this supply chain raises urgent questions about the impact on both the environment and human lives. The extraction of lithium, one of the key materials in EV batteries, is incredibly resource-intensive. To produce a single metric ton of lithium, miners use up to 500,000 gallons of water, causing severe water shortages in areas where it's mined, such as parts of South America and China itself. This massive diversion of fresh water harms local ecosystems, endangers wildlife, and disrupts farming communities that rely on these water sources. And then there's cobalt, another crucial material. The majority of cobalt is mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the environmental damage is staggering. Deforestation, soil erosion, and contamination of water supplies all result from cobalt extraction. So while EVs may reduce pollution on the road, the environmental price of battery production is shockingly high. In response to these problems, the EV industry, including China, is starting to take action. Battery recycling has become a key strategy to reduce the need for new mining. China has launched ambitious recycling programs to reclaim valuable minerals from used batteries, with leading companies like CATL and BYD building facilities to make this process more efficient. The goal is to create a closed-loop system where materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel are reused rather than newly mined. While recycling helps reduce some environmental damage, it's only a partial solution. Another approach China is exploring is second-life applications for EV batteries. When a battery no longer holds enough charge to power a car, it can still be useful in other ways. Chinese companies are experimenting with reusing these retired batteries in large-scale energy storage systems, which can stabilize power grids and store energy from renewable sources like wind and solar. These second-life applications don't just extend battery lifespan. They also reduce the need for new raw materials, cutting down on mining's environmental impact. But the environmental toll isn't the only concern. There's a dark ethical side to the EV supply chain. The mining of cobalt has been linked to exploitative labor practices, particularly in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where about 70% of the world's cobalt is sourced. Reports of child labor, unsafe working conditions, and poverty wages cast a shadow over the entire EV industry. China, as a major player in the battery market, is deeply involved in this controversial supply chain. In response to growing awareness and criticism, some Chinese companies are taking steps to improve the ethics of their supply chains. Several firms have pledged to increase transparency, sourcing cobalt from certified mines that adhere to ethical standards. With pressure mounting from consumers, particularly in Western markets, these companies are investing in alternative battery chemistries that require less or even no cobalt. By reducing dependency on this controversial mineral, they aim to make battery production more sustainable and less reliant on problematic sources. Consumer awareness, especially in Western markets, is driving demand for ethically sourced materials, and automakers are feeling the pressure. As more consumers focus on sustainability, companies that fail to address these ethical issues risk losing market trust. Chinese companies are responding by collaborating with international organizations to certify responsible sourcing practices and working toward developing batteries that don't rely as heavily on cobalt. This shift doesn't just address ethical concerns, it also helps stabilize the supply chain, which is vulnerable to price fluctuations and political instability in mining regions. Yet even with these efforts, the reality is stark. The demand for EV batteries is growing at a breakneck pace, and the race to secure materials is only intensifying. For every electric car on the road, more resources are extracted, more water is consumed, and more vulnerable communities feel the impact. And here's the unsettling truth. While we move closer to a greener future, the path we're taking to get there is anything but green. Section 5. Traditional automakers under pressure from China's EV surge. China's electric vehicles are changing the game, challenging legacy brands that have long dominated the automotive market. Recent reports indicate that Toyota and BMW have experienced profit declines due in part to the growing competition from China's EV brands. Even established car giants are feeling the impact as Chinese automakers rapidly gain ground in key markets. The message is clear. The global auto market is changing, and traditional car manufacturers are under pressure to adapt or risk falling behind. Chinese EVs are quickly winning over consumers in Europe, a market that has long been critical to Western automakers. European consumers, incentivized by government subsidies and concerned about sustainability, are looking to make the switch to electric vehicles. But many are deterred by the premium prices associated with Western EVs. Enter Chinese brands like BYD and NIO, offering affordable EVs that don't skimp on features. So in countries like France, Spain, and Italy, where consumer spending is more cautious, these Chinese models are drawing in buyers who might otherwise have been priced out of the EV market. This shift in market share isn't limited to Europe. Emerging markets in Latin America and parts of Asia are also seeing an influx of Chinese EVs, which are well suited to meet the demands of consumers in these regions. In Latin America, for example, affordability is a major factor, and Chinese EVs are able to offer a competitive alternative to traditional gasoline cars without the high costs associated with many Western electric models. For established brands, this shift represents a significant challenge. They now have to contend not only with the complexities of transitioning to electric, but also with the reality of fierce price competition from Chinese brands. Tesla, the dominant EV manufacturer in the US, has taken note of the growing influence of Chinese EVs. The company's leadership is keeping a close eye on potential US policies that could restrict the use of Chinese technology in electric vehicles. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has openly expressed concern about the impact of these potential restrictions, noting that limiting access to Chinese-made components could drive up costs and slow down the production of EVs in the US. This is especially significant given that many EV batteries and key components are sourced from Chinese suppliers. For Tesla and other US-based automakers, the question of access to Chinese tech is more than a political issue. It's a practical challenge that could affect their bottom line. It's not just Tesla that's feeling the pressure. Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, has been vocal about the need for US automakers to adjust their strategies in response to China's rise in the EV market. He warned that American automakers can no longer afford to be complacent, urging his industry peers to take China's competition seriously. Ford, like many traditional automakers, is finding itself in a position where it must rethink its approach to EV production. To stay competitive, Ford and other legacy brands are increasingly focusing on reducing costs, improving battery technology, and ensuring their vehicles offer unique features that can set them apart from the flood of affordable Chinese EVs. Yet, while Chinese automakers are gaining traction globally, they too face their own set of challenges. One of the biggest issues is the lack of charging infrastructure in rural areas, both in China and in many of the international markets they're entering. While major cities in China are well equipped with charging stations, rural regions often lag behind, making it difficult for EV owners to find reliable charging options outside urban centers. This gap in infrastructure could limit the appeal of Chinese EVs in areas where long-distance travel is common, creating a barrier to adoption. Another challenge for Chinese automakers is the gradual removal of government subsidies that have helped fuel the industry's growth. China has heavily supported its EV industry through subsidies and incentives, which have been essential in keeping prices competitive. However, the government has started to phase out these subsidies, creating new pressures for Chinese manufacturers to keep costs low without relying on government support. As the industry matures, Chinese automakers will need to find ways to sustain their growth independently and continue delivering affordable EVs without sacrificing quality. Section 6. Solid-state batteries, China's next leap in EV technology. Have you ever wondered what truly powers the rise of electric vehicles? Look beyond sleek designs and eco-friendly promises. The battery is what really drives an EV's success. In fact, batteries make up about a third of an EV's total cost, determining its range, reliability, and affordability. And here's the shocker. China isn't just leading in EV manufacturing. It also controls most of the global battery market, giving it a huge advantage over the rest of the world. China's dominance in battery production didn't happen overnight. The country invested in battery technology years before EVs went mainstream, anticipating today's explosive demand. Now, China produces more than 70% of the world's lithium-ion batteries, the main power source for EVs. This lead comes largely from giants like CATL, BYD, and CALB, who collectively supply a huge chunk of the global market. No matter which brand of EV you drive, there's a high chance its battery either came from China or contains materials sourced there. But why are batteries so crucial? Batteries replace gasoline engines in EVs, and they're complex and costly to make. Lithium-ion batteries, the most common in EVs, rely on materials like lithium and cobalt, which are hard to source and require advanced technology to refine. This production process has high entry barriers, which China has mastered through a combination of innovation, government support, and control over raw materials. China's battery companies aren't just producing on a massive scale, they're pushing technology forward. CATL, for instance, recently unveiled a fast-charging battery that provides 370 miles of range after a mere 10-minute charge. This development addresses one of the biggest hurdles for EVs, charging time. While most lithium-ion batteries take hours to fully charge, CATL's new tech could soon make range anxiety obsolete, making EVs more practical for daily commutes and long trips alike. But the innovations don't stop at faster charging. Chinese companies are also focused on solid-state batteries, considered the next big thing in battery tech. Unlike standard lithium-ion batteries, which use a liquid electrolyte, solid-state batteries have a solid electrolyte, making them safer, more efficient, and longer-lasting. Although still in development, solid-state batteries could revolutionize EVs by offering longer range, faster charging, and less risk of overheating, a major focus for Chinese battery giants aiming to lead when this technology hits the market. China is also tackling battery waste and environmental impact. As EV adoption grows, so does the need to manage used batteries. Chinese companies are at the forefront of recycling technologies to recover valuable materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel from old batteries, reducing the demand for new mining. And beyond recycling, China is finding second life uses for EV batteries. When an EV battery no longer has enough power for a car, it can still be useful for energy storage in homes, businesses, and even power grids. This approach extends the lifespan of batteries and makes EV production more sustainable. But China's control over battery production doesn't stop at technology. It's about resources too. Chinese companies have secured strong supply chains for raw materials, sourcing lithium, cobalt, and nickel from partnerships in Africa, South America, and Asia. This tight grip on resources allows Chinese companies to keep prices low and production steady, a major advantage over competitors who are more vulnerable to price swings and supply shortages. This dominance hasn't gone unnoticed. As EV demand surges, other countries are rushing to catch up and reduce reliance on Chinese batteries. The European Union, for example, is investing heavily in its own battery production to be more self-sufficient. and the US has announced plans to boost domestic production to cut down on imports. However, these efforts are just beginning and face fierce competition from China's already well-established battery industry. Despite its lead, China's battery industry faces challenges, particularly around the environmental and ethical implications of mining. Extracting lithium and cobalt has significant environmental costs and has raised ethical concerns over labor practices, especially in places like the Democratic Republic of Congo, where much of the world's cobalt is sourced. Facing scrutiny, Chinese companies are now investing in more sustainable mining practices and are also researching ways to minimize the use of cobalt in batteries to make production cleaner and more ethical. China's control over the battery supply chain isn't just an economic advantage, it's strategic. Batteries are the heart of the electric revolution, and by dominating this area, China has positioned itself as a global gatekeeper for the shift toward electric and renewable energy. With relentless investment in advanced battery tech, recycling, and sustainability, China isn't just leading in EVs, it's shaping the future of global energy itself. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the next video for more exciting content.